The Mapuche people of southern Argentina and Chile have long protested the loss of ancestral lands at the hands of colonial-era settlers, a territory that's now dominated by huge timber estates which have left the region environmentally depleted and the indigenous inhabitants mired in poverty. But recently, these simmering resentments have been coming to the boil. We've been to find out why.
Patagonia, a vast wilderness of lakes, forests and mountains that straddles the Andes across the southernmost part of South America. It's the ancestral home of the indigenous Mapuche people, who were here when Spanish conquistadors first arrived on the continent over 400 years ago. Since the 19th century, it's been divided by the border between Chile and Argentina. But for the Mapuche, that's always been an arbitrary boundary. For generations, they've fought, and mostly failed, to get their rights to these lands recognized by both nations.
Si nosotros no peleamos esos territorios, si no peleamos este espacio, estamos condenados a desaparecer. ¿Quién fue?
Now, those ancient simmering resentments are once again bursting into flame. The Mapuche say they've been pushed to the brink by a surge of environmentally destructive industries such as logging. Violence is spiraling, and the region has seen a spate of arson attacks against timber companies and landholders.
En Chile se llama, el grupo violento se llama CAM, C-A-M. Hace poco quemaron, incendiaron 50 camiones, es una locura.
Existe lo que se ha denominado como la militarización de zonas de conflicto, en que nos vemos obligados a hacernos cargo de esta violencia que está en contra de nuestro pueblo.
In both Chile and Argentina, it's brought the Mapuche once more into conflict with the forces of the state. La Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina's most prestigious museum of natural history. It attracts millions of tourists every year. But the museum's basement hides a dark secret. Unbeknown to the visitors scurrying above, there's a room strictly off-limits, which says much about the state's erstwhile attitudes to its indigenous people. Here are the skulls of thousands of Mapuche captured and killed in the late 19th century, as European settlers pushed south into Patagonia in what is euphemistically called the conquest of the desert. Their remains were on display until the 1960s.
Fue un museo del horror, fue un museo del espanto, ¿no es cierto? Que exhibió todos los que ustedes pueden ver en las fotografías armados completos, el resto esqueletario completo eran caciques o capitanejos de valía. Todos los que son cráneos sueltos simplemente tienen acá en el parietal el número de identificación, porque son indios del montón.
Marcelo Valco has spent many years studying crimes committed against the Mapuche during the Desert Campaign. Well into the 1880s, children were being sold off as slaves, even through advertisements in the national press.
Las damas de beneficencia van a entregar a quien lo solicitare niños y niñas como peones de antecocina o sirvientitas. Concurrir al puerto de la Boca en donde serán entregados. Era así, textual.
And on the face of it, prejudice against the country's indigenous people is still common, particularly in the media.
No tenés que pensar en indios como si fueran, no sé, los aztecas o los mayas. No son eso, son indios muy básicos. Y no son sofisticados en la ideología, no hay ideología, no tienen ideología.
Jorge Lanata is one of Argentina's most controversial TV hosts. His news show is watched by millions.
Son tipos muy primitivos, muy primitivos. Yo entrevisté hay un detenido que Chile está pidiendo la extradición, que se llama Jones Walla. Alguien ha comprado la tierra es privada, vos podés comprar y vender tierra.
¿Por qué? ¿Desde cuándo es privada? ¿Hubo un genocidio?
Desde siempre.
No, hubo un genocidio acá en 1879 y 1885.
Vos dirías que hubo un genocidio que terminó con el Imperio Romano y otro que terminó con Inglaterra.
Nosotros
y otro
campo de concentración.
¿Vos pensás que vos y yo podemos ir ahora a Roma a pedir una parte del Vaticano? ¿Qué es lo que quieren? Quieren que se les devuelvan las tierras que supuestamente ellos ocuparon.
Much of the Mapuche's ancestral land is now in the hands of foreign billionaires, like Italian clothing magnate Luciano Benetton, whose estate covers 900,000 hectares, an area about half the size of Wales, and 9% of the region's most cultivatable land.
A este alambre que pasa aquí, desde aquí para allá, es toda estancia Benetton. Desde acá tenés que contar aproximadamente al pie de la cordillera y tenés 15 kilómetros en línea recta. Sé que es un inmenso territorio inmenso.
2 years ago, a group of Mapuche reclaimed a tiny fraction of the Benetton estate and began to farm it. Many violent raids by special police units followed.
El gobierno privilegia a las grandes empresas extranjeras y le molesta los pueblos originarios.
Critics say that since the election victory of President Mauricio Macri 2 years ago, the state's attitude to the Mapuche has become noticeably worse. Last August, the issue became a PR nightmare for the government when Santiago Maldonado, a white Mapuche supporter, disappeared while fleeing from police when the Mapuche camp on the Benetton estate was raided. It traumatized Argentina, awakening painful memories of the country's 30,000 disappeared, who vanished during the dictatorship in the 1970s. The president appeared on TV to deny involvement.
Decir, señores, no vamos a aceptar que ustedes nos digan que esto fue una desaparición forzada, porque el gobierno es imposible, este gobierno democrático, que participe en hacer desaparecer a nadie.
For 3 months, the country was gripped by the fate of Maldonado, and then his body was found floating in this river. Cause of death, drowning, according to the autopsy. However, the body appeared inexplicably in almost exactly the same place as he had last been seen fleeing the police. And there had been numerous searches of the area, leading many, like Nobel Peace Prize laureate Adolfo Pérez Esquivel, to doubt the official version.
Ahora, después de 3 meses aparece su cuerpo en el río. Según los peritos, a los antropólogos, dicen de que no hubo lesiones físicas, pero que sí hubo, no se sabe todavía cómo se ahogó Maldonado. Todavía hay cosas que no están claras en la investigación.
Over the border in Chilean Patagonia, the police are on a charm offensive. But the province of Araucania is designated a conflict zone. The regional capital, Temuco, is full to bursting with paramilitary police.
In the Araucanía region, there's this sense that there's a violence that is out of control and that should be somehow addressed by the authorities. Of course, it's not that we validate the violence that are being committed in the region, but you cannot use that as an excuse to go over human rights.
A group of militant Mapuche, calling itself Coordenadora Arauca Mayeco, or CAM, is engaged in a campaign of sabotage against the logging industry, which it says is destroying the environment. So far, no one has been injured, but the group has caused millions of dollars in damage. The government has responded by invoking an anti-terror law drafted during the time of former dictator General Pinochet.
It affects the whole community. They arrive violently, they raid every house, or they throw tear gas, not clear why. One very recent case affected a preschool that was in class with little children inside that were all affected by the tear gas. In some cases, had to be taken to hospital.
In the heart of the conflict zone, the small town of Cojipuji is celebrating its centenary. The festivities have a distinctly martial air. Not far away, at the regional courthouse, Ada Huentecol is waiting outside.
Donde con presión logramos que el fiscal de Temuco nos fijara una audiencia de formalización.
She tells us that a year ago her son was shot in the back by a police sergeant while trying to defend his 12-year-old brother. It's the first court case of its kind, and for the Mapuche, hopes are high that the perpetrator won't get away with it this time. As it turns out, the sergeant doesn't even attend the hearing. Hardly surprising, say activists, no policeman has ever been convicted for shooting a Mapuche. But Ada is in no doubt who she holds responsible.
El sargento segundo Cristian Rivera Silva. Bueno, y le disparó a quemarropa, sin motivo. Y a mi hijo Isaías de 13 años lo tenían al lado de rodillas, apuntándolo con insolencia, siempre amenazándolo, te voy a matar. Fue muy terrible. Esta es una radiografía de perdigones que aún le queda a mi hijo, a Brandon. Son 30 perdigones que le quedan en su guatita. Son un perno que va incrustado en su pelvis para que pudiera poder caminar.
Activists say Brandon is one of hundreds of innocent Mapuche shot by the police, in some cases fatally, since the reintroduction of the anti-terror law.
El general Franzani, el que comanda todas las fuerzas especiales, todo lo de la zona Araucanía, él había dicho a la prensa informando de que fue un accidente.
We asked General Franzani, who is in charge of the conflict zone, to comment.
Sí, pero el conflicto mapuche, todo lo que es violencia rural lo es Galgajar, el general de la zona de control del público. Yo solamente veo acá todo lo que es seguridad pública.
Like every political or law enforcement official we approached, in Chile and neighboring Argentina, the general refused to give us an interview. In contrast to the apparent immunity enjoyed by the police, it's almost impossible to find a Mapuche leader who hasn't spent time in prison. Hugo Leeken, a renowned environmentalist, has been a community leader for 10 years.
El año 2010 fue el primer encarcelamiento por defender la madre tierra. Tuve 3 años encarcelado en la ciudad de Temuco, en la cárcel.
Hugo was wrongly accused of terrorism, held for 3 years, and then released.
Para mí eso no es vida. A mí me gustaría vivir una vida libre, pero como soy dirigente mapuche me tienen perseguido, me tienen permanentemente con control policial.
There have been cases of Mapuche people that have been accused more than once for terrorist crimes and acquitted in all of those cases. So these people may have spent years of their life that were spent in prison for absolutely no reason.
It's an issue this protest hopes to highlight.
Estamos viviendo aquí una ola represiva que el Estado de Chile tiene en contra de los mapuches. El local hoy día no solamente encarcela, no solamente asesina, sino que también se ha dado el lujo de disparar a nuestros niños, a nuestros jóvenes.
The Mapuche say they have a lot to protest about, and demonstrations like this one in the capital, Santiago, are common. But they are often brought to an abrupt end by the police. Last May, Fabiola was watching a peaceful protest from the relative safety of the roof of the Mapuche University in Temuco, when the police suddenly attacked.
Su ataque fue mucho más violento. De todas las bombas que tiró, no alcancé a esquivar una. Y esa fue la que impactó en mi ojo. Dolor, mucho dolor. Miedo de perder mi ojo. Será lo único que no quería. No le encuentro sentido a toda esta represión que se vive, no solo aquí en Chile, en Argentina.
At the heart of the conflict is land. The Mapuche say that for decades they've been pushed to the margins of their ancestral homeland, often to make way for forestry plantations where fast-growing trees unsuited to Patagonia have wrought havoc with the environment.
Esto se llenó de forestales. O sea, usted al mirarlo, aquí no se ven reservas naturales. Esto es todo pino, pino y eucalipto. La cual que nosotros miramos cómo salían esos recursos cuando pasaban a frente de nuestras casas. Lo poco y nada de terreno que teníamos nosotros, lleno de polvo. Los animales no hallaban qué comer.
The threat of violence is never far off. Jose tells us that when his brother complained about a stolen horse to a policeman 2 months ago, he was shot dead by the officer, leaving a widow and child. For the last 20 years, the Mapuche have been trying to take back their land, occupying and protecting the environment. The authorities' response is all too often deadly. This is Lake Pui Pui, which is surrounded by logging concessions. It's a primary center of Mapuche resistance.
Y hoy día nosotros estamos aquí apostando a romper esa barrera impuesta por la empresa forestal, que es precisamente este río, y avanzar un poco más hacia el interior de lo que es la cordillera de Nahualbuta. Pero si dejamos que la industria forestal, que la minería, que toda esta empresa extractivista saquen nuestros recursos y nos destruyan el ambiente, nosotros estamos condenados a desaparecer. Así de trágico es nuestra situación.
Although many prefer peaceful protests, some within the Mapuche community feel that direct action is now their only option. We've been invited to meet Hector Jaitul, the leader of CAM, the group responsible for the acts of sabotage. We are picked up at a rendezvous in a remote village and then taken to a hideout in the mountains.
La lucha mapuche se ha ido internacionalizando. Por eso nosotros hemos accedido de alguna manera también a dar nuestra visión respecto del conflicto mapuche.
Hector tells us he's survived 3 assassination attempts and has spent 10 years behind bars during his campaign.
Entonces estamos hablando de muerte de militantes mapuches, muertes de jóvenes mapuches que han participado en procesos de recuperación territorial, desapariciones, prisión política, en que nos vemos obligados a hacernos cargo de esta violencia que está en contra de nuestro pueblo y ejercer algún tipo de acción directa que vaya en contra de esta violencia. Vemos o perspectivamos de que el conflicto no tiene una solución en el corto plazo.
With the victory of conservative Sebastián Piñera in last year's Chilean presidential election, some feel that the conflict is likely to intensify.
Hoy se apagó la voz de los candidatos y se escuchó fuerte y clara la voz de los chilenos.
During the campaign, Piñera received this glowing endorsement from Argentina's autocratic president.
Deseo que tengan la mejor elección y en eso no soy objetivo porque hace muchos años soy amigo de Sebastián, lo admiro, creo que es un gran dirigente. Éxitos para todos los chilenos.
A joint approach with neighboring Argentina to the Mapuche question is now being formulated, and Piñera has vowed to broaden the scope of the country's already fierce anti-terror laws.
We're worried about what might happen. We have always said that the anti-terrorist law needs to be reformed, but that reform has to be done in terms of ensuring due process standards. And going in that direction will likely do the opposite.
Back over the border in Argentina, the situation is also deteriorating. This is Bariloche, on the shores of Lake Nahuel Huapi, notable for its alpine-style architecture. It's one of Argentina's chicest resorts, deep within Patagonia. But there is tension in the air. While we were there, a manhunt was in progress, and there had been another shooting at a Mapuche community.
Ese día terminó todo, después, bueno, pensamos que había terminado todo cuando empezó el día sábado, con la muerte de mi sobrino Rafa Nahuel. Igual seguían disparando, seguían buscando más gente, nosotros dijimos que éramos nosotros más que estábamos.
Rafa was part of a group of some 50 landless Mapuche, which has occupied a small area outside Bariloche in order to farm.
La manera de que nosotros nos tapamos el rostro es porque si salimos a la calle, si nos ven con el rostro descubierto y salimos a las calles, en la calle nos fusilan.
The authorities said they were terrorists and raided the community.
Comenzaron a arrojar tiros al aire y apuntándonos. Nosotros estamos recuperando un pedacito de tierra. De este lado tenemos un rico que tiene 2.000 hectáreas, del otro lado otro rico que tiene 2.000 hectáreas. Y nosotros que reclamamos por un derecho justo y digno y ancestral y antiguo, y un pedazo de tierra que lo estamos trabajando como comunidad.
It's 4 months to the day since the disappearance of Santiago Maldonado. The rally organized in the resort town to mark the date is now also remembering Rafa Nahuel, who has also become a martyr to the cause. There is an odd mood as protesters mix with holidaymakers. Effigies of President Macri, the police chief, and Luciano Benetton are carried to a statue celebrating General Rocha, the man who led the desert campaign to pacify the Mapuche in the 19th century. 130 years on, and the Mapuche are still suffering the consequences.